I couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement as I typed out the message to my husband, Alex. Girls' night at Emily's place, can't wait. I hit send before I had a chance to overthink it. A quick glance at the clock told me I had just enough time to make it to the restaurant before Chris arrived. It had taken me weeks to build up the courage to do this, to lie, to sneak away, to pretend I was something I wasn't. I had been restless for months. The routine of my life was starting to feel suffocating. Work, dinner, bed. Weekends spent cleaning and pretending that the silent space between Alex and me didn't matter. We'd grown so distant over the past year that it felt as though we were living parallel lives, occupying the same house but not truly existing in the same world. The lie felt easy at first, a way to break free, even if just for a night. I told Alex I was going out with the girls, something I hadn't done in ages. The truth was, I wasn't meeting friends at all. I was meeting someone else. Someone who made me feel alive again. Chris was different from Alex in every way. Tall, sharp jawline, and so incredibly confident. He had the kind of energy that demanded attention without trying. The moment we met, I felt like I was someone special in his eyes. It had started as innocent texting, the kind that starts slow and casual but eventually catches fire. A flirt here, a compliment there, until one day he asked me out. I couldn't resist. I was nervous as I approached the restaurant, my heart thumping in my chest. What if he didn't show up? What if this was just another one of those fleeting, meaningless things that people like me get caught up in? But then, as I walked inside, I saw him. He stood by the window, his back to me, but I could already feel the pull of his presence. "Sarah," he said with a smile that made my stomach flutter, "I'm so glad you could make it." His hand brushed against mine as he led me to the table. I felt a spark, a kind of electricity that I hadn't felt in so long. We talked about everything and nothing, his voice smooth and calm, the wine flowing freely as the night wore on. There was no judgment in his eyes, no expectation, just a feeling of being seen in a way I hadn't been in years. I told him about Alex, about the endless silence between us, the way we had stopped trying. He listened without interrupting, nodding thoughtfully. I couldn't stop myself from feeling that familiar guilt, but at the same time, it was liberating to share my thoughts with someone who didn't know me as a wife or a dutiful partner. The dinner lasted longer than I expected. I wasn't used to this kind of attention, this kind of desire, and as the evening progressed, I felt myself sinking deeper into the fantasy of it all. Chris's charm was magnetic, and for a brief moment, I convinced myself that maybe this was what I had been missing, someone who made me feel seen, wanted. He was so different from Alex in that way. As the night drew to a close, I felt a mix of exhilaration and dread. The thrill of being out with someone who made me feel alive again was intoxicating, but I knew I couldn't keep up the charade for much longer. I had to go home. I had to face Alex. But first, I sent him a text, "Having a great time. Don't wait up." It was a weak excuse, but it was all I had. I had no idea what to expect when I walked through the door. Would Alex be angry? Hurt? I had no idea. I couldn't help but feel a wave of guilt wash over me as I left the restaurant, but I pushed it down. I deserved this. I had earned a little escape from the confines of my marriage, hadn't I? Driving home, I caught a glimpse of myself in the rearview mirror. My cheeks were flushed, my lips slightly parted, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't look like the tired, worn-out woman I had become. I looked alive. And I didn't want to let that go. As I pulled into the driveway, I saw the faint glow of the porch light flicker on. Alex's car was still in the driveway, and a knot twisted in my stomach. What if he was awake, waiting for me? What if he had found out? But no, I told myself everything was fine. He had no idea. But as I fumbled with my keys, I noticed something strange. The doorbell camera light blinked. It was recording. And I froze. My heart skipped a beat. Had Alex been watching? I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, but I shook it off as I stepped inside. Alex was on the couch, his eyes focused on his phone, but he didn't look up as I entered. I forced a smile, though it felt unnatural on my face. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "How's it going?" He didn't respond right away, but I could feel the tension in the air. Something was different. Something had shifted. I wondered if he had seen the footage from the doorbell camera. Would he confront me? Would he finally say what I was too afraid to hear? "Everything's fine," Alex finally muttered, still staring at his phone. But there was something in his tone, something that told me it wasn't fine at all. My stomach churned with anxiety. I had no idea what was coming next, but I had a feeling my little escape was about to come crashing down. And in that moment, I couldn't help but wonder if I had made a huge mistake. I could feel the tension in the air as I sat down next to Alex on the couch. His body was stiff, his eyes still fixed on his phone. There was no warmth in the room, no soft exchange of pleasantries. It felt like we were strangers again, like the space between us had grown miles, even though we were sitting inches apart. The silence was deafening. "So, how was your night?" Alex finally spoke, his voice low, flat. There was something cold in his tone, something unfamiliar. My heart skipped a beat. "It was good," I said, trying to sound casual, trying to sound like everything was normal. "We just hung out, caught up." He didn't respond, and I could feel the weight of his silence pressing down on me. I couldn't bring myself to look at him, not yet. I could feel his eyes on me, though, his gaze sharp, almost searching. I needed to say something, anything, to break the tension. I shifted uncomfortably, glancing at the clock. It was nearly midnight. I had hoped that by now, I'd be able to slip back into the familiar routine of pretending. Pretending that everything was fine, pretending that nothing had changed. But the truth was already hanging between us like a thick, suffocating fog. "You're home later than usual," Alex said suddenly, breaking the silence. "I thought you said you'd be back by 10. My stomach twisted. He was right. I had told him I'd be home by 10. But I'd stayed out with Chris, and now I was facing the consequences. The lie was starting to catch up with me, and the guilt was gnawing at my insides. I lost track of time, I stammered, mentally kicking myself for such a weak excuse. It wasn't even a good lie. Alex was too smart for that. I could see the skepticism in his eyes as he looked at me. "You're sure that's all?" he pressed, his voice growing colder. "Just lost track of time?" I could feel the walls closing in on me. I had hoped he wouldn't ask, hoped I could somehow make him believe the lie. But there was no avoiding it now. He wasn't buying it. "Alex," I said, my voice softer than I intended, "I told you, I was with Emily and the girls. We were just talking and catching up, that's all." He leaned back in his seat, eyes still glued to his phone, but I could see his fingers twitching. He was trying to stay calm, but I could feel the anger simmering beneath the surface. "Then why is the doorbell camera footage showing your car arriving at midnight, when you said you'd be home by 10? My breath caught in my throat. I didn't know how to respond. The camera. The damn doorbell camera. I had completely forgotten about it. How could I have been so careless? Alex had obviously been watching the footage, and now there was no way to escape the truth. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. I wanted to lie. I wanted to say something, anything, to make him believe me, but I couldn't. He had the proof. I had no excuse. I began, but I stopped myself. What could I say? What was left to say? The lie was exposed, and the damage had already been done. Sarah, Alex said, his voice low and controlled, but there was an edge to it now. What the hell is going on? I looked at him then, really looked at him for the first time that night. His face was hard, his jaw clenched, and his eyes were full of something I hadn't seen in a long time, disappointment. The kind of disappointment that cuts deeper than any anger could. I couldn't bear it. I felt like I was drowning. I'm sorry, I whispered, the words slipping out before I could stop them. I didn't mean to. You didn't mean to, he interrupted, his voice sharp. You didn't mean to lie to me? You didn't mean to sneak around behind my back? You didn't mean to. His words trailed off, but I could hear the pain in them. It wasn't just anger. It was something deeper, something more personal. I had betrayed him, and he wasn't sure how to handle it. I didn't think it would matter, I blurted out before I could stop myself. I thought if I could just feel something different for a while, it wouldn't hurt. I didn't think you'd care. Alex stared at me, his face unreadable. I had no idea what he was thinking, no idea what was going through his mind. Who is he? Alex asked quietly, his voice almost too calm. This guy you've been lying to me about. I felt the heat rise in my cheeks. Chris, I said, the name falling from my lips like a confession. His name is Chris. How long has this been going on? I didn't answer right away. The truth felt too raw, too exposed. But I knew that silence wouldn't help me. Only a few weeks, I said finally, the words feeling like lead in my mouth. I met him online. He made me feel. I don't know. He made me feel seen. Something I haven't felt in a long time. Alex's expression didn't change, but I could see the muscles in his jaw tighten. I had just confirmed everything he'd been fearing. And you thought this was the answer? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't know, I said, tears welling up in my eyes. I just needed something to remind me I wasn't invisible. I didn't think it would get this far. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The silence between us was suffocating. I could feel the weight of everything I had done pressing down on me. I had lied. I had betrayed him. And now, I wasn't sure what was left for us. Finally, Alex looked at me, his face hard. You can't just erase what you've done, Sarah. This isn't some mistake you can fix with a quick apology. You need to figure out what you want, because this is a mess. I wanted to apologize, to beg him for forgiveness, but I knew it wouldn't change anything. The damage had been done. And as I sat there, staring at him, I realized that nothing would ever be the same again. The silence that followed felt like it stretched on forever. Alex didn't say anything more. He didn't yell. He didn't even get up. His eyes, though, were cold and distant. He wasn't looking at me, not really. He was looking through me, as if trying to decide who I was now, who I had become. And I couldn't blame him for that. I wasn't sure who I was anymore either. I had always thought the lies would be easy to carry, that I could somehow juggle the truth and the deception without it ever catching up with me. But here I was, sitting on the edge of our couch, a pile of broken promises between us, the weight of everything I had hidden crashing down on me. I never wanted to hurt you, I said quietly, my voice barely above a whisper. I thought I was just doing something for me, something that would make me feel alive again. But I see now that it was selfish. I wasn't thinking about what it would do to you. Alex didn't answer, his face unreadable. He still hadn't looked directly at me, and it was as if every word I spoke made the space between us grow larger, harder to bridge. I wasn't sure where we stood anymore. Was there even a chance to fix this? Could we go back to how things were before all of this? Or was it too late? I can't believe you do this, Alex finally said, his voice strained. I thought I knew you. I thought I could trust you. But you were lying to me this whole time. I swallowed hard, the words stinging, but I knew they were true. He was right. I had broken his trust in the most unforgivable way. I had betrayed him, not just once but repeatedly, with every secret glance at my phone, every stolen moment with Chris. I had let myself believe that I was justified, that I deserved to feel desired again, to be seen, to be wanted. But in doing so, I had thrown away everything I had built with Alex. I never meant for it to go this far, I said, my voice breaking. I wanted to feel something again. And I thought that. I don't know. I thought if I could feel wanted by someone else, maybe I wouldn't feel so invisible. Alex finally looked at me, his eyes narrowing. You thought that's all it would take? A fling with some guy to fix everything? To fix us? I recoiled at the sharpness in his words. No, it wasn't like that. I wasn't trying to fix anything. I wasn't even trying to make it better. I just wanted to escape for a little while, to forget about everything. And now I see how wrong that was. How stupid. For a moment, we both just sat there, the weight of the silence between us almost unbearable. I was waiting for him to say something, anything that could make this feel less like the end of everything. But instead, he just stared ahead, his hands clenched into fists on his lap. I could feel his hurt, his disappointment, and I hated myself for it. I didn't think I could ever be this disappointed in you, Alex said, his voice low, full of raw emotion. You've shattered something inside of me, Sarah. And I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again. His words hit me like a punch to the gut. I had always known that what I was doing was wrong, but hearing him say it out loud, seeing the look on his face, this was different. This was real. I had never wanted to hurt him like this. But I had. And now, there was no going back. I stood up, pacing across the room, trying to make sense of everything. My thoughts were a blur. What did I expect? That I could get away with it? That I could somehow justify my actions? I couldn't even justify them to myself. All I had done was selfishly escape into someone else's world, and now Alex was paying the price for it. I'm sorry, I said again, but the words felt hollow, empty. I never meant for any of this to happen. I don't know how to make it right. You can't, Alex replied flatly. Not this time. The finality in his voice sent a cold shiver down my spine. It was over. I had ruined it all, and there was no repairing what had been broken. I had pushed him too far, lied too many times, and now the truth was out. He couldn't trust me anymore, and honestly, I didn't blame him. We're done, Sarah, Alex said, standing up. I can't keep doing this. I don't even know who you are anymore. You're not the person I thought I married. His words felt like a slap, but I couldn't argue with him. I had changed. I had become someone I didn't recognize. Someone willing to throw away everything just to feel something, even if that something wasn't real. I stood there, motionless, watching as Alex grabbed his coat. I need space. I need time. And you, he paused, taking a deep breath. You need to figure out what you want. Because I don't think you even know anymore. I watched him walk out of the door, the sound of it slamming shut behind him echoing in the quiet house. And for the first time that night, I allowed myself to feel the full weight of what I had done. I had destroyed the one thing I had always counted on. The one person who had been there for me through everything. And now, I was alone. I sank into the couch, my hands trembling. I wanted to scream, to shout, to beg him to come back. But I knew it wouldn't matter. He was right. I had done this. I had ruined everything. My phone buzzed on the coffee table, and I glanced at it. It was a message from Chris. I opened it without thinking, my heart sinking as I read his words. Had a great time tonight. Hope to see you soon. I closed the message without responding. I wasn't ready to face that part of my life either. It felt hollow now, like a temporary escape that had only made everything worse. I sat there, in the quiet of our home, with nothing left but the weight of my choices. The consequences of my actions were heavy, and I didn't know if I would ever be able to fix what I had broken. But for now, I had nothing to do but face the reality of what I had become, what I had done, and what was left of the life I once knew. And in that moment, I knew I had lost it all.